Hello, and welcome to Age of Geek, the podcast.
Hello.
Hello. We're so excited to be here today. We're kind of doing our little introduction of Marley and I's podcast that is part of the Age of Geek network. I'm going to say podcast a whole freaking lot tonight. I know it's just going to happen. So Marley and I are not just some randos. We actually have this podcast, a little thing called Cutscenes and Cupcakes that's been going along for 4 years now?
4 years.
Yeah, we're old.
This month.
We're old.
It's our anniversary.
Yeah.
Month.
It's so cute of us. And so we started on spooky season. Our first game was BioShock, which is a horror game. I would classify it as.
Oh yeah.
And so we wanted to do a little spooky season episode for Age of Geek, which is why we invited some of our favorite humans on. These are you guys the white Alexander Whites or just
Alexander's?
Just that. Okay. I didn't know if you changed your last. I didn't.
I am changing it.
It's a process.
I changed my name 8 years. This year, it's been 8 years since we've been married, and this is when I changed my name.
I only did 10 months, so it took me only 10 months from when I got married to finally change it.
But this is Brian and Steph, two of our favorite people, and two very qualified humans to talk to us about spoopy games today. And in general, just the love of video gaming and why it went from this like kind of nerd-centric hobby for basement dwellers, which is not my opinion, but I feel like can be what people have thought of it, to this more like well-known, widespread, working on being very inclusive. I was going to say very inclusive, but there's patches of inclusivity. A thing that people like to do and enjoy doing and don't have to be like quiet about it.
Yeah, it's not taboo.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. Do you want to have any little introduction for yourselves or history of your gamings?
It's I mean, I guess we're kind of the randos. First and foremost,
we love our randos.
To Cutscenes and Cupcakes. I'm very proud to say that I've been a supporter since the beginning. So see you grow. So looking forward to further growth and you know, you ladies doing what you do best. As for myself, gaming has just been part of my own personal culture and DNA from an early age. Self-proclaimed retro game historian, collector, geek, all this good stuff. So you know, if I don't have a controller in my hand, I'm you know what I mean. I have to justify or rectify it.
Well, then, what's been your favorite console?
Oh my gosh, you're asking that?
That is the question.
This early?
Yeah, I just thought I'd drop a bomb at the beginning.
I'm not gonna definitively say.
Okay,
but
that's fair.
I will say that I have. I'm very partial to some of the early Nintendo era classics. Everything. We'll say Nintendo 64. Was very formative. So
I agree.
I'm just gonna I'm gonna leave that there. We're not gonna get into any heavy debates or anything like that. I'm gonna keep it nice and simple.
My cousins had a Super Nintendo. That was what I first played. Our first system was a GameCube, and I loved the GameCube. Loved it. Still love it. My personal first system was a PS4.
Nice.
So I had a big chunk of time of not gaming so much. But I actually, my thing with gaming, which it took a while for me to pick up a controller because I have to invert my controls. And I didn't know that was a thing. So I would pick up controllers and not be able to direct my person because I they didn't make sense to me.
The
camera angle didn't make sense. So he was actually the one that saw me play, and he's like, wait a minute, let me see. And he inverted it, and it was like all of a sudden it was like a light bulb went off, and I haven't stopped playing since.
Steph, I like feel very, because my first system, well, it wasn't even mine. It was my cousin's Super Nintendo. Is the first thing I started playing, and then I think my first system was a Wii. So I don't like
same
count, but it wasn't necessarily like, yeah. And then I hate inverted controllers. I hated having to look and walk at the same time. It took me a hot minute to get used to it.
Yep, it's very. Controlling is controls the camera and moving is,
and the dual, you know, up and down, left and right, all over. Yeah, well, it's tricky at first.
We've been touching back on Ocarina of Time with Lindsay, and you don't have dual controllers, and we're just like, what the hell? Why do we only have to look in one direction? I need to look.
But once you get used to it, it's very hard to go back.
Yes, you can't once you go there.
Oh yeah, and like I'm very similar in the same way too, like because I didn't grow up really having a lot of gaming consoles, mostly because I just wasn't really allowed to in my house. I mean, we had a Wii, but we played dance games with it.
And Guitar Hero. Guitar Hero was...
We played the Rock Band and...
Garage Band, or Rock Band.
Yeah, I have 3 younger brothers, so we played anything that was multiplayer and not Mario Party. Lots of Mario Party.
Oh yeah, I would always try to like whoever like was my friend at the time, or I had some neighbors, you know, and I would always be like, "Oh, can I come over and play? Like, did you want to play Mario Kart today?" Or whatever, you know, like I would just always try to go to who I knew had the console so that I could like play games with them. Because or my brother. So I don't know. I don't really. I feel like I have some like missing memories or something, because like, how were my brothers allowed to have game consoles and me and my sister weren't?
The patriarchy.
Because like they were older, and it could have been because they bought them maybe with their own money, and maybe that's what it was. But then, so my brother, I remember he had an N64 and an Xbox, and I would like always beg him to let me play Halo with him. And so again, like there were consoles around. I just didn't always play them because they just weren't always available until I got my first PS4, and it was mine, all mine. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, here we go. First time actually playing a game from beginning to end all by myself.
Mm-hmm. Brian and I were there for that purchase.
You guys were.
Right.
Target, Black Friday. It was like 7 a.m.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
Mine was a Black Friday deal too, actually.
Was it
I think so.
Yeah.
Don't you have the Blue Nathan Drake PS4, Mar?
No, that's Lindsay.
Oh.
You keep mixing that up.
I'm sorry, I don't know who has what PlayStation.
No, I have a Slim. Thank you.
Oh.
Just kidding.
And not that I'm worried about any of you guys, but just a reminder that we kind of keep this PG-ish.
Oh,
in language
on this podcast. Yes.
Our Cutscenes and Cupcakes is 18 plus for sure. I mean, yeah, there will be some F-bombs dropped by yours truly, but in this one, we'll keep it clean for everyone to enjoy. So then, I guess what was your first horror game you played? Ooh. If you can remember that. Dive into the depths of your memories.
Well, I actually was kind of hoping I was going to get to bring this one up.
Yay, do it.
So my first, what I would say a horror game. I don't know if everybody would consider it a horror game. Have you heard of Gone Home?
No.
So it was it might have been computer only. Was it PC only?
Came out PC. I think
it came out PC first, I think. It did hit consoles because we do have it on our consoles. But it's a really, the premise of the story is you're coming home. I think you're a college student. You're coming home for your first break. It's a blustery, stormy night. Your house is kind of in the middle of nowhere, and your
point is your family just moved.
Oh, your family just moved. You've never been in this house before. So you're going to a house that you have never been to.
Oh.
And your family's gone. And you don't know why. And you're exploring the house and uncovering clues. And there's definitely a scary hallway that I jumped. And
why? Why is there always a scary hallway in everything?
The entire game is actually very sweet. and the story that you're actually unfolding is a very, it's not scary in and of itself, but the environment of the house, the creaks, the sound effects really lend it. So I couldn't play it. I was living in an apartment by myself at the time, and I couldn't play it at night.
That's fair.
He would laugh at me because I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it alone. So it's fun to be scared, but I also think that it's interesting. Like there's multiple levels of horror games. There's ones that kind of are aided by your own imagination, kind of. And then there's the ones that are a little more blatant, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We just played I'm going to mess up the acronym, SFC?
SCP.
SCP Containment Breach. And that one is not okay, so I guess there's a little bit of a story. You're like in a prison. And they decide to experiment weapons on you. Weapons as in monsters, and things that can destroy you.
You are a test subject. It's great.
And then there is a breach in the locking system, so you get to escape into the prison along with all these creatures and try to survive them. And I guess there's over 100 creatures you can be introduced to.
There's like, I think like over 1,000, if I'm right, or maybe it was like just under 1,000 if I
we meant like
right.
6 to 10.
Really though, really. Well, and there's only so many in the game, but like SCP, from what I have been learning about from like, because I've been talking about this game with other people, and they're like, oh, I love SCPs. There's like this whole like online forum that just like talks all about SCPs. Brian, you're nodding your head. Do you know about this?
Just from a very topical, very surface level bit of research.
Okay, yeah.
Well,
and I guess there's like contributors who like write about these different SCPs, and
it comes straight from Creepypasta.
It's not. It's
okay. Doesn't come straight from adjacent. So like Slender adjacent. But yeah, that one was not as story based, and more just like scare the crap out of you based.
But also like curious, like you want to go around and like uncover these like just weird like anomalies
and stay away from the peanut baby that will definitely eat your face off.
Yeah. The creepy thing about that is that when you can't break your line of sight with this thing. If not, it will kill you. But there's this whole game mechanic that blinks, that you like will blink. There's like a little meter and everything counting down to the next time you're going to blink.
Sweet.
And so you blink and then the creature comes closer to you. So you got to, back up and give your distance or GTFO. And it's creepy.
Nice.
That's a fun element.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brian, I probably interjected. Do you remember your first horror game? Before I could get to what your first horror game was. I also don't complete my sentences. It's fine.
It's interesting. It's kind of twofold. There's a two-prong aspect to it, but on the maybe somebody can fill in the dots for me after hearing this. But I know I was on the Mac. I know it was on the Mac, and I know it was like this computer game called Transylvania. And it started with the and I remember being captivated by that so much. I don't know much beyond that. I didn't know how to play the game. I never really. I was probably about, let's say, maybe 4 or 5. But from there, I made the connection, castles and thunder. I found Castlevania, and Castlevania, it's a lot more, I want to say, dense than just getting straight into horror. It's definitely the sort of theme, and there's definitely a lot of accents, horror accents and whatnot. But I just remember that being my earliest foray into horror games, that mystery, that sense of what's this castle, who's in it, and why, what do I have to explore, bats, skeletons, so forth. And that was definitely my foot in the door as far as my first
I'm currently playing Castlevania, and the freaking flying T-Rex heads, they do only 1 damage, so they're just annoying, and then they show up all the time. So that's my they're so obnoxious. But I have like Castlevania. And like way to go back to like the roots of Dracula and vampires. I feel like that's not something we've seen currently in gaming.
Just Dracula in general.
Yeah, kind of like vampire-y.
Mm-hmm.
The classic monsters kind of thing.
There was a time. There was, I went through my vampire phase. I'm not going to speak for everybody going through a vampire phase, but there were so many aspects of pop culture, and just to kind of offer what you were saying, Steph, was there was Vampire the Masquerade. This was more definitely the PC
like crowd. Masquerade, paper faces on parade. Masquerade.
In the sense of think D&D, The Sims, okay. and your own sort of vampire personality in a virtual space.
That's kind of cool. Did you have to eat people in it or suck their blood?
I mean, yeah. Basically, that just went with the territory.
That's how you survive. That's how true. Vampires. Yeah.
As long as you do it ethically.
On my Anne Rice phase. You better be careful.
Hey, I love me some Anne Rice. I need to watch the new series.
I'm excited. Trying to figure out how to watch it.
Yeah, right?
Signing up for another subscription.
Oh, there you go.
Why not just have 7 subscriptions? It's fine. We don't. Oh my goodness. Problems. Marley, what do you think about your first horror game?
I'm trying to think of like my very first horror game, and there's like a couple of them that I remember playing kind of right around the same time. So maybe my memory kind of blends in together. But like when I was younger, I was like, no. I am not into horror. I don't like scary games. I don't like scary movies. No.
Oh, but then the time turns.
I know, right?
Tables.
It's so, yeah. But like, I think what happened for me was that I started playing, like I had like friends that wanted to play games, and then it just turned into like a social event. And I kind of realized, you know what? There's a lot of people around. We could leave a hall light on over here. I'm okay. I have my pillow I can hide behind. I'll be okay. And so it just kind of became like this like social thing. Like I remember one of the games that first came to mind was actually Slender: The Arrival. I watched someone play that in its entirety, and that was terrifying. And then also I remember playing one of the Outlast games. I get them all mixed up, to be honest. I think it was Whistleblower, but I could be wrong. I think, isn't that a DLC technically? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it might have been that one, because I remember we also could have played the first one. But and then of course Until Dawn. I remember like the very first time I played through that game, I was like in a huge group of people, and it was like the best time.
You were lucky. I got shut in a room by myself.
Oh, by him?
Yeah.
Brian!
Brian?
What did I do?
We played in opposite rooms.
Oh.
Full effect type thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he turned the lights off on me.
Oh, wow. Brian.
True love, maybe? I don't know.
I think that's, you brought up a really good point in the sense that your social dynamic when it came to horror games. I think aspect of video games that have, the reason why it's permeated pop culture so much is because you have these social ties, these social dynamics that are so unique outside of reading groups or going with a bunch of friends to say a movie or anything like that. But similar to you, how you had your hall light on or you had your pillowcase. I remember some friends. It would be Blockbuster. It would be going down the aisles of Blockbuster. We have a sleepover, and it's like, all right, what game are we gonna get? And it's just like you kind of want to do, it's like, okay, we could do Mortal Kombat, but this I heard about this. This is the
Right.
scariest game ever. It's like, man, what is it? It's like, it's a Silent Hill. It's like, okay, let's play it. And then you know, everybody's around and they're each kind of recounting what they heard about the game. So it's giving you like this kind of folklore about it. Like, can you survive it? That kind of thing. And I think that just definitely kind of like Steph, remind me of the game we were talking about. Or Stefan Mar, you played it.
Containment Breach.
Thank you. Kind of like Containment Breach in the sense that you have other voices that are going to give you instruction or layers of story, or did you try this or did you try that? I think that is something that is unique to what makes horror so paramount in gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I also think that there's a component of social gaming with horror games specifically, similar to like seeing a movie in a theater, that idea of like experiencing it with people, like games as a whole, when you're watching, like you can thoroughly enjoy the story if it's a good story, like while you're watching, but there's something unique about the feeling of horror, of the horror games, that everybody watching can participate in.
Yeah. And even if you're not the one holding the controller either,
it's just as suspenseful and just as terrifying.
Exactly. Because I mean, like, yeah, because there's definitely something about holding the controller, like when it's your turn and when you want to be brave and hold the controller and play for a minute. You know, I think at the same time, like there's also something a little comforting in that, because like you are the one controlling the character. You are the one moving about and going where you need to go and everything. And sure, there's also a little bit of responsibility in that, because you could accidentally kill a character or something. Been there, done that. I think we all have. But you know, so it's just still kind of like, it's still kind of nice to be and like I feel like, especially like a game like Until Dawn and like those kind of decision-based games, and kind of like with forming relationships and how it affects your game and your story and everything, like it kind of puts you back in control. It gives you the control over the scary thing that's trying to attack you. And so like there's something about that too that I find really fascinating.
Well, I think that's similar to why people like true crime. Not that you want to ever put the blame on victims, but it also gives you this perspective like, oh, this is what I could do differently. This is what happened to this person. How can I remain out of that situation? I think that that's a really big component of why women especially like true crime. And even in these video games, where you can be like participating in these riskier behaviors that you don't want to be in real life. You would avoid at all costs in real life.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because honestly, if I was put in some place like Rapture or Until Dawn, I would sit in a closet with the door closed until morning happened and not move ever.
Right?
Like, no, who would go look for freaking totems?
And I mean, I think there's something also to be said. I have to take this opportunity to comment on how important environment world building is. Like you basically just, you know, got to the heart of the matter by mentioning places. You just mentioned, you know, Rapture. So I think again, another thing why gaming is able to translate horror so effectively is because you're dealing with places like, you know, Raccoon City,
right?
Silent Hill. We all know if we wake up in Silent Hill, that's probably not the place to be.
Yeah, you're pretty screwed.
Too foggy. It's
right.
Too foggy.
For whatever reason. And again, and then just, you know, Castlevania is another example. In a lot of the narratives in the games, there's this notion that when the castle reemerges, when it reappears, that's when mankind has sort of begun to exhibit or sink to its lowest levels, its most you know, sinister aspects, which allows the castle to kind of materialize. But we find out later that it's a completely different reason. But anyway, locations, locales, environments play such a pivotal part.
Well, and that makes me think of, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Dead by Daylight, which has been so popular lately.
I love that game.
I mean, because you get to play at some of your favorite, you get to play at like Hawkins High, or I haven't watched Stranger Things, so I don't know the things. But you get to play at these creepy places. I've thought about it. So on a side note, my husband kind of watched it intently, and I kind of watched it like next to him. And then someone died that he really liked, and he's like, I'm not watching this anymore. So then I stopped watching it and never picked it back up. It's Blake's fault. I will put him under the bus every time for Stranger Things. But anyways, you get to not only go to your favorite locations, but be some of your favorite horror spooky game people. You could be Pyramid Head. You get to be the
Demigorgon.
The Demigorgon.
How did I know what she was talking about?
As soon as you said it, I was like, oh yeah, that's what she's doing.
How did I know that?
You get to be gosh, I should know the names. Scream? Do you get to be Scream?
Well,
she's Scream Psycho.
It's Ghostface.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't think they actually have the rights to Scream, so they have like, I think he's Ghostface. So there's actually a few of those. They have like a Freddy. They have a they do have a Mike Myers.
Yeah.
They do have that, and they play the music and everything. Yeah, they have that. And they recently got some like Resident Evil stuff pulled in as well. So there's like a couple of levels in there, and you can be some characters from there. I couldn't tell you what ones, but yeah, so it's kind of fun that they're like incorporating like other franchises, because I think the game, surprisingly, like it's still pretty popular. You know, people are still hanging out.
Yeah.
Well, and the game is surprisingly simple, but it's held its popularity. You just need to survive. But it still gives you the jump scares you're looking for.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And I think that's another thing that speaks to the longevity of horror games in general, is being able to perfect or implement a simple, what appears to be a simple mechanic, and kind of build upon that. I think you can anything from, so like we're talking about Dead by Daylight, where what's another example? We talked about Outlast. Mm-hmm. You basically are armed with what?
A camera.
And just, the notion of what they have, the developers have been able to build on top of that is endless. And it's a very, from the beginning, from the start, it's a very simple, very sort of.
Your Alien game's another good example of that one.
Alien Isolation.
Oh, I've played a good part of that. That game is spooky.
It achieves everything so well by just basically making you feel, for lack of a better metaphor, naked. You go out there.
You feel exposed.
And it's just a matter of, I'm gonna take these few steps to get these, tools. And then I'm gonna maybe take another few steps, and I'm gonna stay in this locker for a good 5 minutes. And then I'm gonna maybe muster the strength to do another 2 steps. That's amazing that they were able to achieve that sort of atmosphere and mood.
Well, because it was all about the soundscape in that game specifically, because
I watched him play it, I didn't realize that the mic was set up, and that if I spoke, he would be found.
Oh.
So I was just talking because I was hanging out, not realizing that the alien was going to get us. Because
that's great. I would do the same damn thing.
My favorite would be like in Alien Isolation, when you're just like walking down the hall, and you like up above you see an open grate, and you're just like, okay, I'm frozen in my tracks, and you're looking for any other way to go. Like the first time, we saw one of those, and we just kept walking, and we're like, la la la, oh, and then alien drops down and just and you're dead, and it's whatever. So yeah, you just know he's hanging out up there, and you're just like, hee hee, sneak away around. And like that game is scary because like even if like Alien wasn't right there, you like hear sounds of him or something, and you're just like
an unseen threat.
Yes. Oh my gosh, terrifying.
Well, I was just going to say, it seems like a big element too of a lot of horror games is you don't start off with weapons. You don't get weapons, or at least you don't start off with weapons. And then even in some situations, weapons are actually to your hindrance. In fact, we just played Quarry recently, and I think the gun was used to kill more humans than the bad guys.
Oops.
In fact, we shot off Granny's face, and that was like horrifying.
Yeah, I did that too on accident.
You were like, it's not gonna kill her, and then her face blank.
Yep.
Yeah.
Blank.
Yep.
Terrifying. Fun stuff. Does that in the sense of weapons or not getting weapons, or maybe even the notion of unconventional weapons, how does that make you feel as far as some of your experiences in some games that you've played?
Well, it makes you feel helpless, for one thing. Like, I'm specifically thinking of like Outlast, because again, you just have a camera. Like, you're holding the camera up and you're looking, like you're playing the game through the lens of not through the lens, but through the receiving screen, the screen. I don't know what it's called.
Your
the viewfinder?
Yeah. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Cameras.
Yeah, but anyways, but
Nokia.
yeah, you know that there's plenty of things out there that you have to not let find you, or else you'll die. And so like your whole other element is hiding and sneaking around, and so like that obviously adds a whole nother element, because you have to be quiet, you have to be sneaky, you have to like use strategy to like get around the bad guy, or wait long enough under a bed until he leaves. So there's also that element of patience.
Not good. I'm not good at it.
Yeah,
I don't do well.
It's not easy.
Yeah, it's an art in itself, right? Like
stealth is never my forte in any type of gaming. And also, like, as far as weapons for me, I'm like a wrench wielder. I would choose a wrench over a gun most days.
She likes the melee over the range. I was going to add something else when we were talking about oh my gosh, it just escaped my head. Maybe it'll come back. We were talking about games and horror. Crap.
That is what this episode is about.
It was there and then it just left. So maybe it'll come back to me. So you guys just keep going.
It's interesting because there's we talk about Outlast. Have you ever played Fatal Frame? She got it. Did you get it?
I remembered.
What's up?
Okay, I'm gonna
I've
go
never
real
played
quick.
Fatal Frame though, so just so you know.
We'll come back to that because I'm curious. But no, I was just thinking about how, like, Brian, you were talking about how like horror games they're very simple. Like they're very like the whole setup and everything. Like it doesn't need to be overly complicated. Like I find that when horror games get too complicated in maybe their story or their amount of monsters or just different elements just coming in and out of everywhere that just doesn't always click, I feel like those are the games that maybe aren't like they don't thrive as much as like other ones do. Like I feel like horror in itself is very simple. Put you in a scary environment, give you limited weapons or maybe a weapon, but then you have to try to find ammo, you have to like there's some sort of element where you have to like find stuff to be able to keep going, but you're getting from point A to point B, or your goal is to just avoid the bad thing and then survive like a whole night or whatever. So like I feel like the recipe for like horror games is super simple, and once you start adding in too much, you get a bad pot of soup. I don't know. This is where I'm going with my analogy, but like soup is simple too. You just put in a few ingredients.
One game that I would use to refute that though isn't technically a horror game, I guess, but would be Halo. When the flood appears and there's just so many that it's so overwhelming and so terrifying, and you just don't feel like you can escape from it.
But would you say that is that an example of what the developers wanted you to feel?
Yeah, but
okay, okay.
I was just like the sheer amount of it is just like,
Okay.
Yeah.
Where do I go from here? How
But
do I?
that's not like what the whole game is about, though.
No,
either. Like
you're right.
there's other things, and like there's a whole other premise going on. But when it's
like is Halo a planet?
We're not having this discussion. Oh goodness. But yeah, no, that was my only comment. It was just that I feel like the recipe for horror, it's very simple.
It's soup.
Because it's soup. It's good soup.
It's soup.
Yeah. Because the example I wanted to use real quick that I just remembered was Outlast 2. I remember we played that one, and in the beginning, it was pretty intriguing. You are in a helicopter and you crash, and then you come across this like creepy village, and you're trying to find your wife because you got separated.
That's all you impregnated by Satan.
Yeah, like or something. Yeah. Like there was like this whole like religious element going on, and then there was like the scary things, and then like I don't know. I just felt like it was like too much at once. That you're like, no, I just needed it to be this, and that was fine. I don't know. We didn't actually end up finishing that game.
I don't think so.
So maybe I don't have enough room to talk. I don't know.
But you know, you have the opportunity to at some point. It might come up.
To finish that game? I don't think so. Anyways, what were you talking about? Fatal Frontier? Is that what you're talking about? Fatal what?
Flame.
Fatal Flame.
Frame. Mm-hmm. So Fatal Frame is, you want to talk about more or less a direct premise. You are in a countryside in Japan, and you're in an old, the equivalent of like an old estate, and the only thing you have is an antique camera. So spirits are haunting, and hauntings are occurring. Spirits and hauntings are happening around you, and for lack of, you know, a weapon or you know what you have to equip yourself, you have this antique camera that you have to capture the spirits, and you have to, you know, your photography has to be a little bit on point, and you will not only capture the spirits, but you will, you know, that will contain their soul and allow you to progress further.
Wow.
That's fun, playing on the old idea of a camera capturing your soul.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That reminds me of like Phasmophobia and the old Japanese Ringu movies combined.
I couldn't, yeah, exactly right. But it kind of just it plays on that sort of simplistic, you know, that simplistic recipe, and then kind of just pushes it out from there. The kind of in the same vein that the flashlight mechanic kind of did for horror gaming. Just, you know, that idea of being able to see so much. But it's these simple additions and simple mechanics that just keeps us coming back.
Well, and I think it adds to the idea that it's going to be more brain, not brawn, that's going to get you through these dark, scary nights. You have to outsmart the people, outsmart the creatures. You got to just push through. You can't just muscle your way through it. This time, you can't be Kratos through it. I don't think Kratos versus Wendigo. I don't know who would win.
Kratos.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what about Kratos versus the giant peanut baby?
I mean, I don't have data on the
okay.
But I'm still gonna say Kratos.
But
okay.
I think Kratos. He can.
All right. He's a literal.
He wouldn't break eye contact with you.
He would look at him for 3 days straight.
He's a god. He doesn't need to blink.
Leave me alone, boy. Leave me alone, Peanut. Well, before we wrap up, we wanted to give a chance to maybe talk about a couple of our favorite horror games that we haven't had a chance to mention. and why we love them. Whoever wants to begin.
Okay.
The
So
floor is yours.
favorite. It's always, because you just want to get it right. But I'm just gonna. There was on the GameCube, there was a game called Eternal Darkness, and Eternal Darkness
Sounds scary.
was so fun and had so many aspects of horror to it that in a lot of ways is still studied today. It's still a lot of the things that it achieved are somewhat legendary. So kind of similar to this, I remember, if I remember correctly, there was a blink meter. Yes, there was a blink meter that you have to blink and this doll will come closer, right? If you break eye contact. In Eternal Darkness, there was something similar in that you had an insanity meter. So you have this meter, and depending on your character, if you came across like a being or an entity that they weren't familiar with, you see the insanity meter kind of rise, and all hell breaks loose because your character begins to hallucinate, and it almost introduces this full-on aspect of an unreliable narrator in some of the interactions that you're having. And given that you're not just playing as one character, but you're playing as multiple characters across different years. So there was just this amazing sense of otherworldliness and just separation from reality, in addition to some very classic horror tropes. So Eternal Darkness. And then you go. or somebody take the floor, because I can keep going.
Steph, it's you. But that does sound. Has it ever been like remastered, or
it has not. There was talk way back when Kickstarter was like a garage band. There was talk about finally doing the sequel. We never got to it, but
you bring up these old games that we don't have access to.
That doesn't mean you don't have access to it.
We can circulate. We can word of mouth. There are ways to preserve. There are ways to preserve.
All right. Steph, hit us with your fave.
I love the Supermassive games. The
dark pictures.
Well, not just the dark pictures.
There's more than that, Brian.
Because Until Dawn and the Quarry don't count as dark pictures, so you tell me. I haven't Mandam and Den I haven't played yet, but the other ones, I really love them. I find them so much fun, so creepy, and I like the replay factor. So those ones would probably be top of my list as far as horror games. Followed probably quickly by BioShock.
Did you play House of Ashes?
I did. I really liked it.
Need to finish that one.
Yeah, Cutscenes and Cupcakes has some strong opinions on the dark picture games.
So do a lot of people.
It's no doubt that there's so much replayability. And they at least are doing it. Like they're going for some of these stories that other people haven't, and trying to make a cohesive kind of
universe, almost like it's like,
and their gameplay is different than most anything else out there.
Right.
There's not many doing that kind of more or less kind of choose your own adventure, almost like the old adventure books. Like that's kind of what it is. I mean, video games are in general, but they
double down.
They double down on it. Yeah, they are kind of in a set of themselves at the moment because nobody else is really doing that style.
Yeah, it's so storytelling high.
And I really like my story games.
Yeah, same here.
I'm not a big one for games that don't have a ton of story. So
and this October, Cutscenes will be doing Quarry, which is a Supermassive game.
That one came out.
Oh, that was last week.
Yes.
So Cutscenes did it.
That one just came out.
But this November, there will be.
That's what I wasn't going to do a favorite that I've played because we've talked about a lot of them, especially BioShock. But I was going to say I'm super stoked for The Devil in Me. And I say that with apprehension because some of the dark pictures haven't hit the marks with me. But I remember one of the first times Brian and I hung out, we put on, I think we had watched something and then we were just hanging out kind of chatting. And for some light background noise, we put on an H.H. Holmes documentary. As one does.
I was there.
And Brian and I have talked several times about creating an H.H. Holmes centric video game, because if like a murder hotel leaves endless possibilities of what could be inside of that place. Mm-hmm. And some of the best content comes from real life, and having this human who literally would kidnap people from his own hotel and murder them. You can't get too much more evil than that. So I'm very interested to see how they do with The Devil in Me. So I'm excited, apprehensively excited about it.
I know it. I'm excited too, but I'm also not happy that it comes out after Halloween. I mean, we'll play it. Like, I'm sure we'll play it, but at the same time, I'm like, I want to play it during spooky time.
Well, that's a good point. I thought
they did that last year too with House of Ashes. I think it came out on October 29th. So I guess just in time for Halloween, but also.
I mean, that counts, right? I mean, time enough for you to play Halloween night.
It came out on don't most games come out on a Tuesday?
Or a Friday.
Okay, well, if it came out on a Tuesday, I don't know if that gives everybody the opportunity to play it.
Right. Yeah, no, that one, I mean, I'm still excited about that one. But yeah, I'm a lot like you, Steph. I like the Supermassive games a lot too because of the story elements. Even though I might not have liked some of the stories that they went with, or how
they're not perfect.
Yeah. Oh no.
There are problems with them, but I feel like the stuff that they've added in, like we were talking about the social aspects, being able to split up the characters.
Yes.
It's your turn to play now and pass the controller.
I love that aspect of it for sure. And so for me, even though I didn't like a couple of them, I still have really good memories associated from playing with them with my friends, because we would just end up making fun of it instead of, being scared. And I know that's not the point, but at the same time,
but there are multiple ways to respond to the game. There's responding to it, and if you're responding to it in fun. So it accomplished the purpose either way. You enjoyed the time.
Exactly.
Well, and in Man of Medan, we killed off one of the main characters really quickly. And it was so funny because it always come to this character's turn, and it would be okay, I think his name was Josh, maybe. It's Josh's turn, and it showed him, it just showed the water where he died.
That would be the one that I would make sure he lived.
Yeah, do that. It would just show the water where he died and then go on to the next person. We're okay,
oh my gosh,
poor Josh.
I think that they're definitely learning, which makes me excited for Devil in Me, because I feel like each one
has gotten better.
They've progressed. I haven't played Man of Medan yet, but it sounds like that's kind of the.
It was a little choppy.
Well, and technical. I hope that they've patched some of the QuickTime events were really hard to do.
And they've gotten, because the timing of the QuickTime events was really hard in Man of Medan. And I feel like they did get better as each game came out. Quarry was different though. I feel like with Quarry, they were a lot less forgiving with their QTEs. Here you're can I get at least one chance to mess up my QTE before dying tragically? Come on, I've been sitting here watching this cutscene for the past 10 minutes. Oh, I gotta hurry and do something. You know what I mean? It's give me a second to wake back up.
Their QTEs were fast, but they allowed you more time to decide, to make your decisions. They didn't on what you're gonna say. They didn't automatically pick one for you, which I haven't they've done that in some other ones. So.
Yeah, definitely. But I just remember they're learning.
They're learning.
There were several times though where like if you messed up once, like let's say you tripped once, then you were automatically dead. It's like, no, can I trip maybe twice?
Real life,
I don't
Marley,
know.
you got to deal with it.
It's not real life. Wendigos and werewolves are not real.
Interestingly enough, I don't know. I mean, I don't like to, project, but if I'm, don't take me to the bank on this exactly. Not only are they growing, but there are some aspects I recall reading about Devil in Me. For example, apparently characters, you can be able to jump when you move.
Whoa. That's
Right?
new.
I feel like you could do that in the Quarry, couldn't you?
We're talking about
No, you jumped in QuickTime events, but just
okay.
in real time. They are
Okay.
apparently stepping up to real time movement animations that really kind of stand out for the studio. So it's going to be curious to see how that plays, how that feels.
Have they mentioned the cast of Devil in Me? Anyone standing out in that? Because they usually have at least one or two
they haven't announced their cast
recognizable names in it.
I follow them and look at all their posts for Devil in Me because I'm excited.
Just crazy because it comes out in less than a month.
But they didn't announce the Quarry until like, I mean, they're probably going to announce it soon because the Quarry was
true.
There was okay, I don't know if I should. Was there a teaser for Devil in Me?
I haven't seen one.
There's usually they usually do like a teaser at the end of the previous game. So House of Ashes should have had a preview.
Well, we did see something. We did, but I don't know if it was a main character yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was a main character.
We did see something. We did.
Bum, bum, bum.
I might need to go online and do some research after this because
I'm
curious.
House of Ashes because it is in there because I do remember when we got it.
Yes, I know. We need to play it. I was gonna say too, though, back to Dead by Daylight. I feel like that is such like a really good game. Like which is weird because it has no story, and it's very like kind of like quick, rounds and stuff, which is just so not like me. But like I think it goes back to the social element too. It definitely, you're in a room with everybody's in their own houses, but like you're in like a network together with your friends and then you get to play together and one of you is the killer, and so it's so much fun to just like run away from your friends or try to help your friends and stuff. Like it's just a good time. Have you guys played Dead by Daylight?
It's a good one.
If you guys want to play sometime, let me know because I'm always down.
And it's you can't no more screen peeking like in the good old days. You have to just figure it out on your own.
Except I was I played it for my stream on Twitch last week with some friends, and so a couple of them were watching, and so when it was my turn to be the monster, I was like, okay, you guys, you have to turn off my stream, like no peeking. Put your phone off to the side.
Did they?
But I think so. I don't know. There was one person that was playing with us. It was my friend's brother, and he was really good. He was like scary good at the game, and so I killed everyone but him. So I did not succeed.
There was I'll be quick. There was a game. There's Gears of War is sort of not what you would expect from a traditional horror setting or even a horror game. But one of the things that did inspire it was Resident Evil. In the co-op aspect of the game, you're playing. So it's two of you. You're an army of two, and at a certain point, and you come across this creature. You come across what's known as the Berserker, and essentially you see your other companion basically get mauled and decimated. And the only way that you are able to survive this is you have to lead the creature outside to where it can be vulnerable to an open attack. Now, just in that segment, Marley, it's kind of like what you were saying, because you're playing with a friend, and if the way the creature behaves, its behavior is it roars, it screeches, it smells you. So it's going to run and kind of come full juggernaut at you. The only thing your friend can do is maybe shoot to kind of, ease or distract said berserker from you. So it's like this kind of, we're talking, it's like, listen, I'm gonna need you to, can you shoot it over here? But then you start panicking. So this is, you can't really understand each other because you're yelling. The each room that you have to lead it through gets basically more. So your shots are gonna have to be more precise. Your movements are gonna have to be more precise to get it outside. So kind of like what you were saying.
But you're starting to panic, so you're getting more erratic.
You're getting more erratic. You're yelling. You're just like, and then there's a tragic moment where you don't make it. So I definitely understand what you that heightened excitement and that sense of playing, that social sense of playing with friends and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, we definitely should try. We should do some Dead by Daylight.
I would love it.
Still. Well, you guys, thank you so much for joining us on this episode about spoopy games. Yeah, it really is like one of our favorite times of years for gaming. Any last thoughts from the two of you?
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
My first chance at getting to join you guys.
Yay! I can't believe that.
For years.
I think we've tried once or twice and it just hasn't worked out. So
Yeah,
I'm glad that this worked out tonight.
We'll have you on the Cutscenes and Cupcake show soon. Don't worry.
Yes.
You're not safe.
And everyone, thank you for listening. Make sure to check out our other podcasts. We have them come out often. We have our Storybots Chronicles. We have our Multiplane podcast, Movies That Make Up Cutscenes and Cupcakes, as well as our streamers. Pretty much you can watch a Age of Geek streamer Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. And we have a
pod and the Fight and Ginger.
And we have a lot of great content coming your way. So we appreciate you. Join our Discord. We're fun people. And then other than that, thank you guys again, Brian and Steph.
Absolutely.
And
thanks, guys.
Yeah. And we'll see you guys next time.
This has been an Age of Geek Media production.